Hey, Vintage Car Chronicles fans on Spotify. Get ready for a deep dive you won't want to miss.
Today, we're taking a look at a true 90s icon.
The Lamborghini Diablo. Yeah, this one is special.
We're gonna go beyond just the looks and horsepower, though.
Oh,
We'll uncover the engineering, the evolution, and the stories that made this car legendary.
I'm already hooked. Just the name Diablo screams power
Nice.
and danger.
It's a statement. Diablo means devil in Spanish, and yeah, this car was designed to be a beast.
It makes sense.
It aimed to become the world's fastest production car.
Did they actually hit that goal with the Diablo?
Oh, they did.
Wow.
Picture this. 1990,
Okay.
the Diablo roars onto the scene,
I love it.
hitting a top speed of 325 kilometers per hour.
That's insane.
It blew past rivals like the Ferrari F40 and Porsche 959.
So Lamborghini was back on top.
Back on the supercar throne.
It's such a cool story, but I have a feeling there's more to it than just speed.
Oh, you're so right. There's design, innovation, even a little drama.
Oh, drama.
It all began in 1985, actually. They called it Project 132.
Project 132.
It was meant to be the successor to the Countach.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of pressure following a legend like the Countach.
Big shoes to fill, right?
For sure. He was up for the challenge.
The legendary Marcello Gandini.
No way. The guy who designed the Miura and Countach?
The one and only. But there's a twist to the story.
Okay, I'm listening.
Chrysler buys Lamborghini in 1987.
Huh, interesting.
And they weren't totally sold on Gandini's sharp, angular design.
Really? I always thought the Diablo looked like the perfect Lamborghini.
It does, but Chrysler wanted something a little more refined, a little more aerodynamic.
You see?
They smoothed out some of the edges, rounded some corners in their Detroit studio.
Interesting.
They were aiming for this balance between performance and stability.
So the Diablo we know is this blend of Italian and American design.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And here's a fun fact.
I love fun facts.
Gandini actually took his original angular design and used it for another supercar.
Well,
The Cizetta Marauder V16T.
I've heard of that one. It's gorgeous.
We got two iconic cars from that design process.
That's a win-win for sure.
So Chrysler shaped the Diablo's looks, but what about its heart, the engine?
Yeah, what was powering this beast?
A 5.7-liter V12 monster
Oh,
with multi-point fuel injection churning out 492 horsepower.
I can just imagine that V12 sound.
It's legendary, deep and throaty, sends shivers down your spine.
I bet. So we've got this incredible engine, sleek and aggressive design with Italian and American influence. And of course, those scissor doors.
Of course. Can't forget the scissor doors.
But there's got to be more, right? What about the technology?
Oh yeah, even for its time, the Diablo was ahead of the curve.
Really?
You had a fully adjustable steering wheel and seats, electric windows, even a great sound system.
Huh, fancy.
Although, funnily enough, a later special edition was all about getting rid of those things.
Oh, interesting. I'm sure we'll get to that later.
Definitely. Oh, and in 1993, they added power steering.
Makes sense.
Look at
It
that.
wasn't just a track car then.
No. It was designed to be a luxurious supercar you could enjoy every day.
Right. It's meant to be driven, to be experienced.
Exactly. Speaking of driving, the Diablo's performance was mind-blowing. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in under 5 seconds.
Wow. Just try to imagine that feeling.
Pinned to your seat as this beast unleashes.
Pure adrenaline.
You got it. Now, I know that Diablo went through a lot of changes over the years.
Yeah, let's get into this.
Let's start with the Diablo VT. That one was a game changer.
Or the V.
Introduced in 1993, the VT was a big deal. VT stands for viscous traction.
Viscous traction.
And it was the first time Lamborghini put all-wheel drive in one of their production cars.
All-wheel drive.
Yeah.
On a Lamborghini. That must have been groundbreaking back then.
It was revolutionary. This all-wheel drive system gave the Diablo much better handling and traction, especially in tough conditions.
That makes sense. The Diablo was known for its power, but I bet the VT made it more controllable.
It brought a whole new level of control and precision to the experience.
So it wasn't about taming the beast.
Wow.
It was about making it even more capable.
Precisely. The Diablo VT was still a wild ride, but now you could handle it with more confidence.
I love it.
It really paved the way for future all-wheel drive Lamborghinis like the Murcielago.
Which would eventually replace the Diablo.
That's right.
1993 was a big year for the Diablo. Not only did we get the VT, but there was also the SE30, right?
Oh yeah, the SE30. Now that was a special beast.
What made it so special?
Well, it was built to celebrate Lamborghini's 30th anniversary.
Cool.
It was all about pure performance, paying homage to their racing heritage.
I like it already.
They stripped out all the luxury stuff, no air conditioning, no stereo, even no power steering.
They went all out on weight reduction. What did they put in place of all that?
Racing spirit. They used lightweight materials like carbon fiber and magnesium everywhere.
Wow.
They swapped the power windows for fixed plexiglass and added racing seats and four-point harnesses.
So it was a raw, unfiltered driving experience.
A pure embodiment of Lamborghini's DNA.
I bet.
And of course, the engine got an upgrade too.
Of course. What kind of power are we talking about here?
They tuned the SE30's V12 to over 525 horsepower.
Nice.
But if that wasn't enough, there was an optional Joda upgrade package.
A Joda package.
Think of it as a factory-installed upgrade that turned the SE30 into almost a full-blown race car.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah, it pushed the power output to nearly 600 horsepower.
That's insane.
They redesigned the engine lid, too, with these huge air intakes that look like they belonged on a spaceship.
It must have been a sight to behold.
The Joda package was all about max performance.
Taking the SE30 to its absolute limits.
Exactly.
So we have the VT focused on all-wheel drive performance.
Yep.
And then the stripped-down SE30 built for the track.
Like a race car for the road.
What came next in the Diablo's evolution?
In 1995, they unleashed the Diablo SV.
The SV.
Which stands for Super Veloce.
Super Veloce. That just sounds fast.
It means super fast in Italian.
Very fitting. So what made the SV different?
The SV was all about pure, unadulterated speed. It was still rear-wheel drive, like the standard Diablo.
Okay.
But they cranked the power up to over 510 horsepower and really focused on refining its handling and agility.
It must have been a thrill to drive.
Oh, absolutely. The SV was a driver's car through and through, rewarding those who pushed it to the limit.
I can see why it became a fan favorite.
And visually, it had its own presence. It had this really distinctive adjustable rear spoiler and those menacing black taillight surrounds.
Like the bad boy of the Diablo family.
Yeah, with all that power and attitude.
Speaking of different versions, what about those who wanted to feel the wind in their hair? Did Lamborghini ever make a convertible Diablo?
Of course. They had the Diablo VT Roadster, launched in December 1995.
The VT Roadster. I'm picturing myself cruising with the top down.
It was all about open-air thrills. They combined the all-wheel drive of the VT with a removable carbon fiber target top.
A target top. Nice.
Yeah, you could store it above the engine lid when you weren't using it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did they make any design changes besides the removable top?
They redesigned the front bumper to give it a more aggressive look, and they made those iconic side air intakes even bigger.
To manage all that engine heat, I bet.
Exactly. And of course, they kept those dramatic scissor doors.
Which looks even cooler with the top off.
Right. Now, here's a fun fact. They actually did make a roadster version of the SV.
Really? A Diablo SV Roadster.
But it's super rare. In 1998, Lamborghini built just 2 of them.
Wow, only 2. That's got to be one of the rarest Diablos out there.
It is. It makes you wonder why they didn't build more.
Maybe they were already focused on the next generation of the Diablo?
Maybe. We may never know.
That's part of the mystery of those rare cars, right?
Absolutely. But the Diablo's story wasn't over yet.
What happened next?
In 1999, the Diablo got a big facelift.
A facelift, huh? How did they update such an iconic design?
One of the biggest changes was to the headlights. They replaced the pop-up headlights with fixed composite lenses.
Really? Wow, that's a bold move.
It was probably to improve aerodynamics and give it a more modern look.
That makes sense. It was the late 90s. Car design was changing fast.
Yeah, pop-up headlights were starting to disappear.
So what other updates did they make?
The interior got a complete makeover, too. They got rid of the old flat dashboard and replaced it with a sleek, wave-shaped design.
I like it.
It was inspired by high-end audio equipment. It gave the Diablo's cabin a much more modern feel.
So they modernized the Diablo, but still stayed true to its spirit.
Exactly. And of course, they didn't forget about the engine.
They couldn't. What did they do to the V12?
They bumped it up to 536 horsepower and added variable valve timing.
Wow.
It was more responsive and efficient.
So it was more than just a cosmetic makeover.
Way more. They made some serious improvements under the hood.
Did they keep the VT, the SV, and the Roadster for this updated Diablo?
They did. They streamlined the lineup a bit, but yeah, the VT and VT Roadster both got all the updates.
What about the SV? Did it get the same modern treatment?
It did. And this is interesting.
Tell me.
For the U.S. market, they released a limited run of 12 Diablo VT models called the Alpine Edition.
The Alpine Edition.
Yeah, it was to celebrate their partnership with Alpine, who had been supplying their stereo equipment since the beginning.
Oh, cool. So what made the Alpine Edition special?
It was a standard Diablo VT, but they added carbon fiber trim, special badging, and of course a top-of-the-line Alpine sound system.
That's a pretty cool tribute.
They also released a 12-car run of VT Roadsters called the Momo Edition.
Another special edition. What was that one all about?
It had special upholstery, Momo seatbelt harnesses, and Momo chrome wheels. It was like a nod to the aftermarket tuning scene, which was huge in the 90s.
It seems like they really wanted to cater to different tastes with those special editions.
For sure.
Okay, so we have the facelifted VT, the VT Roadster, and all these special editions. What else did they do in the Diablo's final years?
Well, just before the Diablo's production ended, they released one final special edition Roadster, the Millennium Roadster.
The Millennium Roadster. I'm sensing a theme here.
It was a limited run of 30 VT Roadsters, built for the 2000 model year.
Okay.
They only came in 2 colors, titanium metallic and yellow.
Nice.
And they had some subtle design changes and performance upgrades.
Sounds like a fitting farewell to the Diablo Roadster.
A last hurrah before a new era.
But we can't forget about one of the most extreme Diablos ever made.
Oh, you're talking about the Diablo GT.
Yes, the Diablo GT.
Now, that was a European exclusive.
It was, right.
It was all about pushing the limits of performance.
Tell me everything.
They only built 80 of them.
Wow.
It was basically a track weapon disguised as a street-legal car.
What kind of performance are we talking about?
Picture this. A 6.0-liter V12 engine,
Okay.
cranking out 575 horsepower.
Oh, my goodness.
They stripped the interior down to the bare minimum, added racing seats and a roll cage, and wrapped it all up in aggressive carbon fiber bodywork.
That's intense.
The GT was pure, unadulterated performance.
It sounds wild.
It was. It represented the pinnacle of what the Diablo could do.
So we've got the facelifted VT, the VT Roadster, all those special editions, and this hardcore GT. Was there anything else Lamborghini did with the Diablo?
Well, after Audi bought Lamborghini in 1998,
Okay.
they started to refine the Diablo, make it a little more modern.
They were getting ready for the Murcielago too, right?
Yeah, they were working on that in the background.
So what do they do with the Diablo?
They created the Diablo VT 6.0.
The VT 6.0, that was the final Diablo, wasn't it?
It was. They made some big styling changes inside and out and gave it a more sophisticated look.
A fitting finale.
Yeah.
And of course, they upgraded the engine too.
Of course. They increased the displacement to 6.0 liters and
Right.
bumped the power up to 557 horsepower.
It was a blend of raw power and elegant design.
A perfect way to end an era.
And to mark the end of production, they released one more special edition, right?
They did, the Diablo VT 6.0 SE.
Another special edition.
I know, right? But this one was limited to just 42 units. It came in 2 exclusive colors, Oro Helios, a stunning gold metallic,
Beautiful.
and Maroon Eclipsis, a color-shifting bronze maroon.
I need to see that one.
It's incredible. They really went all out with the SE. It had a magnesium intake manifold, a short ratio transmission, special upholstery, and even more carbon fiber trim.
They really spared no expense.
It was the ultimate expression of the Diablo VT 6.0.
A true celebration of this legendary car.
Exactly.
As the VT 6.0 and the VT 6.0 SE, that was the end of the Diablo.
It was the end of production, but its legacy lives on. It wasn't just a car.
What was it then?
It was a statement.
A statement of power, performance, and style.
And a legacy that few cars can match. But there's more to the Diablo story.
Oh, like what?
We have to talk about the concept cars and the racing specials.
I'm all ears. Tell me about those what-if Diablos, the ones that never made it to production.
Get ready for some wild designs.
I'm excited.
One of the most striking concepts was the 1992 Diablo Roadster concept. It was like a preview of what an open-top Diablo could look like. It had this really short visor instead of a full windshield,
Interesting.
these huge air intakes, and a unique engine cover. It was a radical take on the Diablo's design.
It must have turned heads.
It was a hint of what was to come with the VT Roadster.
I like it. What else?
Then there's the 1996 Zagato Raptor concept.
The Zagato Raptor. Tell me more.
This one was designed by the Italian design house Zagato.
Okay.
And get this, it had a tilting roof.
A tilting roof. Like on a fighter jet.
Exactly. It tilted forward so you could get into the cabin. It was a wild departure from the scissor doors.
It must have looked incredible.
It was a shame it never went into production.
I know. Why not?
It was probably a bit too out there for most buyers,
Yeah.
and the engineering would have been really complex.
I get that makes sense. So we have the Roadster concept and the Zagato Raptor. Any other interesting concepts?
Well, as the 90s were coming to an end, Lamborghini was working on the Diablo's successor.
Makes sense.
This led to 2 really cool concepts, the Canto and the Acosta.
I've heard of those. What were they like?
The Canto was designed by Norihiko Harada, the chief designer at Zagato.
Oh,
It was super sleek and futuristic with these huge side air intakes and a powerful 6.0-liter V12.
it sounds promising. What happened?
Ferdinand Piëch, the head of Volkswagen Group, rejected it. They had just bought Lamborghini in 1998.
I see. Why did he reject it?
He thought the design wasn't aggressive enough for a Lamborghini. Plus, he wasn't happy that it was still based on the Diablo's platform.
You wanted something totally new.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about the Acosta?
That one was designed by Marcello Gandini.
Wow, so he got another shot at designing the Diablo's successor.
He did. The Acosta was more angular than the Canto, with these sharp lines and an engine cover that reminded me of the Countach.
It sounds cool.
It was. But Piëch rejected that one too.
Wow, he had a very specific vision for Lamborghini's future.
He did, and that vision eventually led to the Murcielago.
Which was a huge success.
It was.
But those concept cars, they're like a window into what could have been
They show us the alternate paths the Diablo could have taken.
so cool.
Yeah.
But now we have to talk about something else.
Oh, yeah.
Lamborghini's racing ventures with the Diablo.
You ready for some serious speed?
Bring it on.
It all started in the mid-90s with the Diablo Jota.
Wasn't that also a special edition road car?
It was. But in 1995, Lamborghini built 3 special Jotas just for racing.
Interesting.
They got help from Lamborghini Engineering, the team that was working on their Formula One engine program at the time.
So these are serious race cars.
Oh, yeah, purpose-built machines. They had a dry-sump V12 engine, advanced engine management systems, and all the racing modifications you can imagine.
They weren't messing around.
Nope. They even race in the Japanese Grand Touring Championship, or JGTC.
JGTC, that's a big deal. How do they do?
They went up against some tough competition, cars like the Toyota Supra and the Nissan Skyline GTR.
Those are legends.
I know, right? The Diablos didn't win the championship, but they made their mark.
It was a good showing for Lamborghini.
It showed the world they were serious about motorsports.
So was this the start of Lamborghini's racing comeback?
Yeah, after years of focusing only on road cars, they were back on the track.
Awesome. What came after the Joshuda?
One of the most incredible Diablo race cars was the Diablo GT1 Stradale.
The GT1 Stradale. What was that one all about?
This one was developed in 1997 with a company called Signs Advanced Technologies.
Who were they?
They were a French company that specialized in prototype race cars.
Cool. So what made the GT1 Stradale so special?
They built a brand new chassis for it out of tubular steel and carbon fiber.
Lightweight and strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they even enlarged the V12 engine to 6.0 liters.
No way.
It produced a massive 655 horsepower.
655 horsepower. That's incredible.
I know, it was a monster.
What kind of racing was it built for?
The GT1 class, the top tier of GT racing.
Does it live up to its potential?
Unfortunately, no. Lamborghini was having some financial problems at the time,
Oh, no.
so they couldn't really commit to the project.
That's a shame. I bet it would have been a force to be reckoned with.
It had all the right ingredients, but they only built 2 of them.
Only 2?
Yeah, one of them was raced in the JGTC by a team called JLOC.
Did it win?
It didn't achieve the success they hoped for.
That's too bad. But at least we still have those 2 examples of the GT1 Stradale.
They're a testament to Lamborghini's ambition.
For sure.
Yeah.
So what came next in Lamborghini's racing journey?
Well, we have to talk about the Diablo SVR.
ESVR.
This one was unveiled in 1996.
Okay.
And it was a big deal. It was their first officially sanctioned race car.
Really? So before this, Lamborghini wasn't really into racing.
Not really. Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of the company, was against it.
He didn't want to build race cars?
He didn't believe in building street-legal race cars like Ferrari did.
Huh, interesting. He wanted Lamborghini to focus on making the best road cars.
Exactly.
So the SVR was a change in philosophy for Lamborghini.
It was. And they kicked it off with a bang,
Yeah.
creating the Lamborghini Super Trophy.
What was that?
It was a one-make racing series where all the cars were Diablo SVRs.
That's awesome.
It was. And the SVR was basically a stripped-down, track-focused version of the Diablo SV.
What did they do to it?
They added a roll cage, racing seats, plexiglass windows, and an adjustable carbon fiber rear wing.
They really transformed it into a proper race car.
And they tuned the 5.7-liter V12 engine to 540 horsepower.
That's a lot of power.
It was a force on the track.
So the SVR was a turning point for Lamborghini,
It was. They were officially a racing company now.
and they haven't looked back since. What came after the SVR?
Well, there was the Diablo GT2.
The GT2, tell me about it.
It was basically an evolution of the SVR designed to race in the GT2 class.
Oh, wow.
It had a detuned version of the 6.0-liter V12 from the GT1 Stradale, producing around 600 horsepower.
Still plenty of power.
They stripped the interior down even further and added all sorts of racing goodies like a racing steering wheel with a digital speedometer, a fire extinguisher system, a racing cutoff switch, and a fast-filling fuel cell system.
Sounds like a serious race car.
It was. But sadly, the project was scrapped when Audi took over.
Oh, no. What a shame.
I know. It had the potential to be a champion.
Well, at least some of its DNA lived on in other Diablos, right?
You're right. Like the Diablo GT, which was basically a road-going version of the GT2.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that brings us to the final Diablo race car, the Diablo GTR.
The Diablo GTR. Remind me what made it so special.
The GTR was the ultimate Diablo race car. It was a track-focused version of the Diablo GT, and it replaced the SVR in the Lamborghini Super Trophy.
So this was it, the pinnacle of Diablo racing performance.
It was. They took the 6.0-liter V12 from the GT and tuned it to almost 600 horsepower.
Wow.
They gutted the interior, added a massive rear wing, lightweight magnesium wheels, and all sorts of other racing modifications.
It must have been an absolute beast on the track.
It was.
The Diablo GTR was a fitting end to the Diablo's racing story.
It was. It proved that Lamborghini could build world-class race cars.
We've covered a lot of ground today. From the Diablo's birth to its evolution, its variants, those concept cars, and even its racing history.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. But there's still so much more to the Diablo story.
Oh yeah, we've just scratched the surface.
I'm excited to hear more.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll go behind the scenes.
Oh, cool.
We'll talk about the people, the events, the stories that shaped the Diablo's destiny.
I can't wait.
It's going to be a fascinating look at the human side of the Diablo story. Get ready for part 2. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Lamborghini Diablo.
We've seen the Diablo's evolution, all the different versions, and even those wild concept cars.
Right, from its early days as the Countach successor to its final form under Audi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I think it's time to talk about the people.
Oh, yeah.
The people who brought this car to life.
The people who made it a legend.
When I think of Lamborghini, I think of passion, drama, larger-than-life personalities.
You're absolutely right, and the Diablo story is full of them.
It is.
One of the most fascinating has got to be Marcello Gandini.
Gandini. He's the one who designed the Miura, the Countach.
And the Diablo.
We designed the first version of the Diablo, right?
Yeah, he gave it that initial shape, the aggressive stance, the iconic silhouette. But then Chrysler came in and refined his design.
Smoothed out the edges, made it more aerodynamic.
Exactly. It makes you wonder what could have been if they had stuck with Gandini's original vision.
Right. Do you think it would have been as successful?
That's tough to say. Chrysler's changes definitely played a role in the Diablo's success. It appealed to a wider audience.
It still had Gandini's essence, though.
Oh, for sure.
It was like the best of both worlds.
It was. Gandini's design talent combined with Chrysler's engineering know-how.
But the Diablo story wasn't just about design, right? It was about pushing the limits of performance.
You got it. That 5.7-liter V12 engine was a masterpiece of engineering. It was all about power and speed.
I could just hear that V12 roar in my head.
The symphony of those cylinders.
And they didn't stop there. They were always innovating, like with the all-wheel drive in the Diablo VT.
Oh, yeah.
That was a game changer.
It was. Back then, most supercars were rear-wheel drive.
The Diablo VT changed all that.
It did. It made the Diablo even more capable and paved the way for future all-wheel drive Lamborghinis.
It's amazing how much innovation they packed into the Diablo.
That was a showcase for their engineering talent.
And we can't forget about the racing versions of the Diablo either.
Oh, the SVR, the GT2, the GTR.
Those are purpose-built race cars.
Not just modified road cars.
Exactly.
It's funny how Lamborghini's founder was against building race cars.
Yeah, but the company evolved.
They embraced new challenges.
And they proved they could build amazing race cars.
They could compete with the best.
But it wasn't all sunshine and roses for the Diablo, right?
No, it wasn't.
There were some tough times.
They faced financial problems, changes in ownership.
It could have easily gone wrong.
It could have. But the people behind the Diablo, they never gave up.
They had a vision.
They were passionate.
They were determined to make it a success.
And they did.
But it wasn't just the engineers and designers who made the Diablo what it was.
You're right.
What about the people who bought and drove these cars?
They played a huge role in the Diablo's success. They were the ones who experienced it, who shared their stories with the world.
They understood that a car like this, is more than just a machine.
It's an experience, a feeling.
An emotion.
And the Diablo definitely evoked strong emotions.
Oh, yeah.
It was a head-turner, a conversation starter.
It made a statement.
It did.
I bet people dreamed of owning one.
They did. It was a symbol of success, a status symbol.
The Diablo was more than just a car.
It was a cultural phenomenon.
Exactly. It showed up everywhere. Movies, music videos, video games.
It became a part of pop culture.
And it helped put Lamborghini on the map.
It did. Right up there with Ferrari and Porsche.
It's amazing to think about how the Diablo was seen when it first came out.
Yeah, it was so radical.
It was almost outrageous.
It was. But now it's a classic.
A masterpiece of automotive design.
Time has a way of changing our perspective.
It's true. What was once shocking is now appreciated for its originality.
And its performance. It was mind-blowing back then.
And it's still impressive today.
The Diablo has aged gracefully.
It has. But what do you think is the secret to its lasting appeal? Why is it still so popular today?
I think it's the unique combination of things.
Like what?
The groundbreaking design, the incredible performance, and that undeniable charisma. The Diablo was a car that refused to be ignored.
It made a statement.
It did. It embodied the Lamborghini spirit, passion, innovation, and performance.
It's a spirit that continues to this day.
Absolutely. It's interesting to think about how the Diablo's legacy has influenced Lamborghini's designs.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the Diablo was a turning point for Lamborghini.
It was.
It showed the world that they were back, that they were serious contenders in the supercar world.
They were a force to be reckoned with.
They were, and they set a new standard for supercar design and performance.
A standard they're still upholding today.
Absolutely. We'll talk more about that in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, sounds good. It's been an incredible journey so far, exploring the Lamborghini Diablo.
It has. We've seen its birth, its evolution, the people behind it, and its impact on car culture.
And we're not done yet.
Nope. In the next part, we'll look at the Diablo's lasting legacy and its influence on Lamborghini's current cars.
I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Lamborghini Diablo.
We've covered a lot of ground, the different models, the concepts, the racing.
It's been amazing. But where does the Diablo go from here? What's its legacy?
Well, for Lamborghini, it was more than just a successful car. It was a revival. It showed the world that Lamborghini was back.
A force to be reckoned with.
Ready to challenge the status quo. It redefined what a supercar could be.
And they didn't just talk the talk, they walked the walk.
Oh, yeah. They backed it up with incredible performance, style, that unmistakable Lamborghini DNA.
Exactly. The Diablo set a new standard for supercar design.
And
A standard that we can still see today in their modern lineup.
you see it in the Aventador, the Huracan.
Even the Urus.
The sharp angles, the aggressive lines, the drama.
It's all an evolution of what the Diablo started.
The Diablo's DNA is woven into Lamborghini's identity.
And it's not just about the looks.
No.
It's about that drive to push the limits,
But innovate.
to create something truly exceptional.
Like the Aventador's V12 engine.
Or the Huracan's lightweight design.
It's all a continuation of what the Diablo stood for. But the Diablo's influence wasn't limited to Lamborghini.
Right. What about the rest of the supercar world?
When the Diablo arrived in 1990, it was a wake-up call for other manufacturers. Here was this car.
That could outperform Ferrari.
A car that was bolder, more extreme. It forced everyone to step up their game.
It was a challenge to the entire industry.
It made them innovate, take risks. The supercar world would be a very different place without the Diablo. We talked a lot about the technical side of things, but I think the Diablo's cultural impact is huge.
Oh, it's massive.
This car captured the imagination of a generation. The Diablo became a symbol of the 90s extravagance. We saw it everywhere, in movies, video games, music videos, you name it. It was the car everyone wanted.
It was larger than life.
And that popularity cemented Lamborghini's place in pop culture. It made the brand even more desirable.
More aspirational.
It inspired people to dream of one day experiencing the thrill of driving a Lamborghini.
The Diablo, it wasn't just a car.
No.
It was a cultural icon.
A symbol of an era. It's funny how our perception of it has changed over time.
Back in the 90s, it was this wild, outrageous machine. Now,
It's a classic, a masterpiece.
time has a way of doing that.
What was once shocking is now appreciated for its boldness, its originality.
And its performance still holds up
The Diablo aged gracefully.
like a fine wine. What do you think is the secret to its enduring appeal? Why is it still so captivating?
I think it's the combination of everything. Groundbreaking design, incredible performance, and that undeniable charisma. It was a statement car, a car that refused to be ignored. And even today,
What still turns heads?
it evokes that sense of awe,
It truly embodies the Lamborghini spirit.
passion, innovation, and uncompromising performance. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's interesting to think about what makes a car truly legendary.
It is. What are their thoughts on that?
I think there are a few key ingredients. It has to be groundbreaking. It has to push the boundaries of design, engineering, everything.
Make a statement.
Exactly. And it has to capture the imagination. It has to resonate with people, not just car enthusiasts, but everyone.
Leave a mark.
And most importantly, it has to stand the test of time. Stay relevant and inspiring, even decades later.
The Diablo checks all those boxes, doesn't it?
It does. It was ahead of its time.
A true icon.
Its legacy continues to influence Lamborghini to this day.
Well said. The Lamborghini Diablo, a car that deserves to be celebrated.
A car that will always hold a special place in the hearts of car enthusiasts.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Lamborghini Diablo with Vintage Car Chronicles on Spotify. We have new episodes every day, so be sure to subscribe and join us for the next adventure into the world of amazing cars.